Hi, it's Wendy again, and welcome to my channel. I am Wendy the Concierge at gmail.com. You can hit my address down below. And today's episode, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about addiction issues, how that works when you're incarcerated, and I'm going to bring it to you by explaining how I actually got into this mess. So, I guess we'll start with that today. Um, it may not come as a surprise to you that there are a lot of people with addiction issues in federal prisons. I believe the incarceration rate is something like 2/3 of the people who are in federal prison are there for drug related crimes. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's a drug user, although it kind of freaks me out, honestly, when they're not, because I'm like, I don't know, it almost kind of strikes me like a pimp. So, you don't even have addiction as an excuse. You just want to make your money off of other people's suffering. Like, that's fucked up. But then again, I made my money off of other people's suffering. The fact that I was suffering too, does that make me any better? I'm not really sure. Probably not. Um, so yeah, addiction is a huge issue. I personally don't think that the way that drug issues are handled in North America or really anywhere are very good. I don't think that they're helpful at all. I don't think that just using addiction as a means to employ all kinds of law enforcement officers and specialists is a really good strategy. I don't think that it solves the problem, but that's what the rules are. One of the things that people think is that when they go to prison that they'll be able to get help for their drug problem, and I'm here to tell you that that's kind of true and kind of not. The help is there if you want it. um, you can decide to use your incarceration time as a time to get sober, get clean, and take advantage of all the programs that they offer. But it's not like a car wash where you just sit there and all this rehabilitation comes at you and gets done. You have to actively go out and seek it and look for it. Okay? So, first of all, there is such a thing. A lot of people have heard of RDAP, which stands for Residential Drug and Alcohol Program. And the reason a lot of people have heard of RDAP is because you can get up to a year off of your sentence for successful completion of RDAP, depending on if you meet several other qualifications. There are certain gun charges that aren't allowed for you to get RDAP credit, and if you get certain shots, sometimes they'll take away your eligibility to get RDAP credit as part of your punishment, which I think is really fucked up. That, like, you get caught with a cell phone, and so they say that you can't get a year off for completing RDAP. The fuck does that have to do with anything? But hey, again, I don't make the rules, and I'm telling you right now, you know what the entire purpose of incarceration is? To teach us that we do not make the rules. So as soon as we get that through our heads, the better off we are. All right. If you want to take RDAP and you think you might be eligible for it, go and speak to your case manager about it. Okay. If you're in on a drug crime, you're pretty much eligible for it already. If you're going in on a white collar crime, if it says somewhere in your PSI, PSR, whichever way you refer to it, people refer to it both ways, your pre-sentencing report, if it says in there that addiction issues were part of the reason for why this has happened, you might be eligible for RDAP. You might even be eligible for RDAP even if it doesn't actually say that in there, depending on your case manager's discretion sometimes, okay? So that's one way to do it. They, generally speaking, they have a thing that they don't put you into RDAP until close to the end of your sentence. I don't know why this is. Because you throw people in prison who have an addiction problem and they're bored and lonely and they're incarcerated, which means life sucks by definition, and there's going to be illicit drugs in there, so you're going to want to do something to pass the time. and you're not getting any treatment for your substance abuse issues, so you start using more, and then that just leaves more opportunities for you to get in trouble and to get shots, tickets, write-ups, disciplinary issues. So I don't know why they don't just start you at the beginning, like, let's go, let's get off to a right foot. I've been told that one of the reasons that they don't do this is because the idea is that you're supposed to spend all these years until you go to RDAP, like, getting your head, like, cleaned out from all the drugs that you were on, so that then your brain is back to where you can actually think again. I don't know about that. Like, come on. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody's... Like, if you're out in the real world, you go to rehab when you want to go to rehab. You don't sit there, detox, and then wait a couple years to go to fucking rehab. Like, so I don't know, that line of logic, I'm like. The other line that I've heard about for why they wait until the end is that when you get done with the RDAP, okay, you're supposed to continue to live in an RDAP like setting, the RDAP unit, until you're out, and then you're supposed to do transitional care through the halfway houses when you're out. And if you get done with your RDAP, let's say, and then you fuck up afterwards, they have to put your time back. Like, you don't get the time off anymore. So it's easier to just do it at the end so that there's less time for you to fuck up. That seems like a pretty logical reason to me, honestly. Like, I get that. I still think that it's best to get people into treatment, like, right away. Strike when the iron's hot. But, hey, that's what it is. So, yeah. In addition, there's also INDAP, which is the non-residential version of RDAP, and that one takes, I want to say 12 weeks, but I could be wrong about that. RDAP itself lasts anywhere from 9 to 12 months. It depends partially on the speed at which your counselors go in the program, and it also depends on how much progress they think you've made. If they think that you still need more RDAP, more treatment, you won't be graduating right away. That's the thing. And also, I can't tell you how many people I've known. Okay, most people who go into RDAP graduate fine and they get out and everything's fine. So don't let me scare you off of it. But I also know a lot of people who went through the program and then, like, 2 weeks before the end, they got, like, kicked out because, like, they were too aggressive, or, I don't know, they shared cheesecake or some shit like that. RDAP's a really tough program to go through. You know, they have this thing called accountability, you know, and if you're not, where basically you all sit in a room and you tell on each other about bullshit, you know, like, oh, I saw you wearing your shower shoes in the hallway. You know, I saw you, like, share candy with Jenny. You're not supposed to share anything in prison. You know, stuff like that. And if you refrain from telling on other people, it's considered that you're not doing part of your job in the community, holding people accountable. I thought it was part of me not checking somebody else's fucking inventory. But hey, again, I don't make the rules. I can tell you right now, obviously, RDAP wasn't for me. I have enough hard time managing my own recovery, my own sobriety, that I don't need to be involved in somebody else's. I would be so miserable doing it. I would rather spend 365 lousy more days than deal with that bullshit. And people say, oh, no, not me. I'll do everything. I'll get out as soon as possible. Yeah, no, not me. It's 365 more days when I was already looking at a 10-year sentence. So, and the place where I was at didn't have RDAP, okay? And this is something we're going to talk about more when I talk to you about what to do when you're on your pretrial, about choosing where to go to prison, all right? So, but the place that I was at didn't have RDAP, which meant I would have to transfer somewhere. Now, I was at Danbury, so theoretically, I could have gone across the street to the FSL, the Female Security Low, or Female Satellite Low Female Satellite Low Facility, in order to do my RDAP there. But that particular FSL also has a lot of sex offenders there, because they do a mental health treatment program there as well. And I would have need trauma therapy to get over being in with all those kind of people when I got out. So I would not have wanted to go there. I would have wanted to go to like Alderson, Bryan, Greenville, somewhere like that to do it. We had a gal there who left to go to Greenville to do her RDAP program. She got there to her new place. She was there for a freaking year, and they hadn't put her in RDAP yet. She was already out a year from her original out date anyway, so she was like, fuck you guys, send me back to Danbury. Like, if I take RDAP at this point, it's not even going to come off of my sentence. Send me back to fucking Danbury, and then I'll go home. So they did. They sent her back to Danbury, and she spent her last year at Danbury, and she went home. Okay, so you get there, you get transferred to wherever you are. You're not going to get in there necessarily right away. Then you get in there, and then it's a pain in the ass. You can't like share food. They're always up your backside about everything. You know, got to be on point about everything all the time. I ain't got time for that. Hand me my 365 days. I'm fine. I don't care. That said, some people go through RDAP and it's fine. But if you're going to do it, I strongly recommend you get yourself at a facility that already has it there, so at least you don't have to waste time transferring, and you can get your name in the queue from the moment that you get there instead of waiting after a transfer. Okay. In addition, the NDAP program is available at every facility, and that's one where you meet like once a week for usually an hour or two. And you do the same kind of thing, but you're not living in the residential unit. They don't have, you know, the people that are up your backside all the time about sharing and stuff like that. Like when you're in RDAP, like let's say you call up your family, you know, and you're like, listen, I need like $200 on my books. I got to buy some shoes and stuff like that. Oh no. You're not allowed to do that. You have to live within your means. Get the fuck out of here. Like you get like $12 to $30 a month for the prison jobs, and like body wash alone is $8, and then the calls are like $3 to $5 a phone call. So yeah, you need money on your books. Like it's like some capitalist libertarian boot camp fantasy that has nothing to do with actual drug and alcohol related issues. Okay. Learning how to undo those patterns of thinking and stuff takes time and effort, and I don't need to be subjected to somebody's capitalist libertarian fantasy in order to do it. Alright, so that's my rant about RDAP. Like, just, I ain't got time for that. But if you can do it, good for you. It'll help you get a year off. Also recognize that it's really easy for me to say like, oh, I'm not going to do that when I got out of prison 10 freaking years early and I'm sitting here outside. So, yeah, that's from a position of privilege that I say that, and I need to check myself, right? Right. So, there's RDAP and there's NDAP, and there's also several other programs that coincide with treatment type programs. Like there's a Women in Recovery program, which is basically dealing with substance abuse issues for people who have been through trauma and have PTSD related symptoms going on. There's also Resolve, which is a trauma related program, and it's not really substance abuse specific, but substance abuse comes up in it simply because if you're a woman who's in prison with trauma issues and you don't have substance abuse issues, you are a rare bird indeed. Okay? So, that's a thing as well. I strongly advise you get involved in these programs. Alright. So, the way that I got there, I just wanted to share a little bit about my own experience, because I find that if I share about my experience, maybe it'll help somebody else, and I want people who maybe need help to feel comfortable emailing me, hitting me up on Facebook, here in the comments, you know, message me, whatever. I'm always happy to help somebody. So, okay. When I was born, my parents were teenagers still. My mom was 16, I think. Was my mom even 16 yet when I was born? Yeah, my mom was 16. And she was 15 when she got pregnant with me. But she was 16 when I was born. My father was 17. My parents were in rural Nebraska, and it was 1975, which meant by definition they got married. They could have not gotten married because my mom's mom actually told her, "You've already made one mistake, don't make a second." But my mom really wanted to marry my dad because she was 16 and she was going to have a baby. She was going to have a perfect family. My mom's father died when she was 11, I think, maybe 9. And it absolutely devastated her, their whole family. I think, I don't know for sure because my mother in turn died when I was 4, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'm pretty sure that my mom really wanted to recreate a family. My grandmother was really busy after my grandfather died because she was a widow with 8 children and she needed to take care of them, you know? So she was working all the time. She had a very busy and demanding job, and she took very good care of her children, loved her children very much. But the reality is, she was a single mother with 8 children whose husband had just died. Like, and my mom was 11 years old. Yeah, my mom was 11. She was 9 when they had the house fire when her little sister died. So I'm pretty sure that when my mom got pregnant with me, she wanted to have a family. My mother's older sister, who was 5 years older than her, was married with a baby also. My cousin is 6 months older than me, so I'm pretty sure she wanted to, share this with her sister as well. She sees her sister having a baby and a family, so she wanted to have a baby and a family too. I'm certain of it, and I mean, that's a normal thing for a 16-year-old girl in rural Nebraska in the mid-70s. Like, I can't blame her for that. So my parents decided to get married, and their parents signed off on it. My dad was a party animal at the time. I'm sure prior to my appearance, my mom was right there along with him because that's the kind of girl my dad liked. My mom was a cheerleader. She was pretty. She was popular. You know, and then all of a sudden she had this baby. And that was all over. I mean, her friends loved me too. To this day, there are several of her friends who message me and keep an eye on me. Because they want to see how Arlene's little girl grew up, and I look exactly like her, so I'm very much a memory of her and of a good time in their lives, and it helps keep her close when they see me. So my parents were very young. There was a lot of fighting between them. They had very volatile arguments. I even have some vague memories of them. I remember being like maybe 3. At this time, they would have been divorced already, and they were fighting over me. And I remember my mother's mother coming and grabbing me. She said, "You're not going to fight in front of the baby," and walking off with me. She would have been about my age now. There was a lot of difficulty there. My mother also got uterine and cervical cancer. My mother was a DES daughter. That was a drug that women took in the 50s to prevent morning sickness and miscarriage. And not thalidomide, the one that made people have deformities. This one passed on to their daughters and gave their daughters reproductive issues. So my mom was still a teenager, and she ended up having a full hysterectomy from her cancer. My father served her with divorce papers while she was in the hospital recovering from this surgery. To this day, he swears that he did not intentionally do that. My grandmother doesn't quite believe him, but she was willing to forgive him over time. So they split up when I was very young. There was a lot of fighting between them. It was always very volatile. They were very young. It was difficult. My grandparents were very involved in my life. There was a lot of love for me. My father and my mother both had an older sister who was about 5 years older than each of them, who both of my aunts were very involved in my life, very much took care of me, also had children. My father's sister was my godmother. Definitely was there. Honest to God, and I've never said this out loud, but I'm going to tell the truth. I wish to Christ that my parents had given me up for adoption to my father's older sister. if not my mother's older sister. Either one of them would have been just much better than what ended up. But they tried, and I can't blame them for wanting to take care of their own baby. Like, that's a normal instinct. I have babies of my own. I want to take care of my own babies too. I don't want somebody else taking care of my baby. Like, I get it. But my life would have been a lot better, and it would have made sense to give me to one of their older sisters, but that's not how it turned out. So they split up, and my mother had cancer, and she was living in Texas at the time, and she was driving north, and she got into a car accident. She was driving a little Italian sports car, and she flipped it, and, it was the 70s, 1979, icy road, Texas, and she obviously probably wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Who the hell wore a seatbelt in 1979? And she flipped the car and she died. I was 4. Barely 4. I think it was like 3 weeks out. Yeah, it would have been 3 weeks after my 4th birthday. I remember my father telling me it was at his parents' house. His fiance was with him. My father had gotten into a new relationship, and he was going to marry somebody shortly thereafter. I remember I was sobbing hysterically. I remember going from person to person there. My father, his fiance, my grandparents. I'm pretty sure my dad's sister was there too. Maybe his brother also. I know my grandparents were. And I remember just crying. I remember my eyes hurting from all the crying. I remember, I couldn't hardly breathe. Wow, I didn't think that was going to make me cry, but yeah. I remember I just wanted someone to tell me that it was a mistake, that it wasn't true, and I kept hoping that if I went from person to person, that it would be Mommy, and that Mommy would show up, because Mommy used to always come and pick me up there. That didn't happen. I went to the funeral. My father's fiance took me. I don't know why he didn't take me. I don't know. It wasn't because he didn't care, and it wasn't because he didn't get along with my mom's family. My mother's mother loved him dearly, even though she wanted to wring his neck a lot of times. She cared about him, and they had a positive relationship throughout my life. Clear up until she died. She was very understanding and compassionate toward him. I don't know. But I went to her funeral. I remember the golden casket. It was a closed casket funeral. I remember the curtains. And they were so big and heavy, like drapes from funeral home. And I remember the dim lighting. And I remember just crying and crying and crying. My father's fiance told me later in life, and told other people, that the reason that she took me to the funeral was because she wanted me to know where my mother was. It's a whole other story we'll get into later in a bit. So yeah, my mother was dead. That was February 19th, 1979, when she died. My father married his fiancée on March 3rd, 1979. The lore, when I was a kid, was that they got married about 3 to 6 months after my mother died. I don't know in what fucking universe February 19th to March 3rd is 3 months. Sometimes people would say 6 weeks. Eventually got shortened to that. Yeah, no, it was 12 fucking days. 12 days after my mother died, my father got remarried. A lot of people apparently told him to cancel it. I don't know why they didn't. I look back and I'm just like, what were you thinking? Like, I look at this little girl that I was, and I just want to go and pick her up and snatch her away and be like, you come with me. I'm going to take care of you, you know, because clearly nobody else has your needs on their mind. But, you know, that happened. You would think that now, like, I had a mother figure in my life and everything was cool. But unfortunately, my father married somebody who had a lot of problems. She wasn't some fundamentally evil person. I'm not going to play that game, although I do refer to her as my step monster. And she more than earned that title, and she knows it. But it was rough. On one hand, she was very loving with me, and she was very angry about the fact that I wasn't her daughter. I called her mom because I was supposed to. I probably started calling her that because, like, she went with my dad and she was around all the time and I was very young and I didn't see my mom as much as I would have wanted to because my mom wasn't around enough and her and my dad had custody issues and all that. So, yeah. Of course I started calling her mom. She was very annoyed with the fact that I wasn't. She was very into this narrative that, you know, she had to raise me right because she didn't want me to end up, like, pregnant and on drugs like my mother was. And I'm like, I remember always thinking to myself, like, wasn't my dad, like, pregnant and on drugs too when I was a teenager? Like, what the fuck? But, yeah, I remember actually having, like, not quite that articulated, but also, like, but daddy, when I was, you know, like, 5, 6 years old. But whatever. I didn't see my mom's family. She put it as a either be in her life or be out, like, which is a really shitty thing to do to a kid because a kid wants to see the person. What the kid doesn't like is stuff like, oh, you know, grandma's going to be here at 4 o'clock this afternoon and then grandma never shows. So what you do is you just don't tell the kid, okay? The grandma just shows up, you know, like, oh, I want to see grandma. Well, we'll try to make that happen. And if grandma shows up, great, look, grandma's here. If grandma doesn't, kid doesn't know. It's real simple, okay? But cutting them off because of your idea of what their relationship should look like is a really shitty thing to do to a kid. I didn't see my mom's family. Like I said, my stepmonster had a lot of issues. She had an extraordinarily difficult childhood that had some real traumatic situations involved in it. She did not have the skills to be a loving and compassionate parent to a little girl who was not hers. She had some really fucked up ideas around sexuality and gender due to a lot of the traumatic abuse that she suffered. She did not have the skills to overcome that trauma and abuse. And some people have accused me of apologizing for her and making excuses for her because there are plenty of people who go through things like she went through who don't grow up to treat their kid poorly like she did me. And that's fantastic, but that good for them. They're more resilient. There are also people who grew up with the skills, with the lack of skills and went through the traumatic events that she did, who treat their kids even worse than she did me, okay? She did as best as she could with the tools that she had, all right? And it wasn't enough, but it's not like she was sitting there thinking, like, oh, let's fuck this kid up, you know? Like, come on. I'm not gonna hate on somebody like that. That's not right. We all have our own demons, and I have nothing but compassion for what she went through. I also have compassion for the child that I was who didn't deserve the treatment that I got. There was a lot of physical abuse. there was an extreme amount of emotional and mental abuse on me. My father was an extraordinarily active alcoholic during these years. He simply was not around. He was at work all day as an electrical contractor, and then he would go out and drink until 1 o'clock in the morning when the bar is closed. So he was never fucking there. He didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want to bother him. And I very much got the idea that if I did, he would just be mad at me for having to deal with it, and that nothing would change anyway, and I would just get in trouble for telling him. So I just didn't say shit. By the time I was a young teenager, I had been parentified, and by that I mean I was constantly taking care of my younger siblings. She had serious alcohol issues too. She had a lot of depression issues. She was having me do an extraordinary amount of housework. I'm not saying that kids shouldn't help around the house, but I was really responsible for it. And if I wasn't doing it to her standards, I received physical punishments for it. You know, and just weird fucked up punishments, like making me take an ice cold fucking bath. You know, even like in the summer, making a kid sit in an ice cold bath, that's fucked up. That's just weird, like head trippy shit. You don't do that. A lot of yelling and screaming, and like if I didn't like have the correct facial expression while she was yelling at me, you know, I had to hold it in like a neutral expression, because if I looked defiant, then the physical abuse would start. If I was crying and looking sad, I was being a manipulative little bitch, and the physical abuse would start. So the only hope that I had was to just hold my face neutral. This led to when I got older and I would see like video of myself talking or whatever, I looked like I was absolutely dead, you know, like I was on general anesthesia. And it actually took me a long time to learn how to have facial expressions and how to express myself. Because I was so used to having to hold myself in a neutral position all the time. There was always assumption of my motives, you know, like I remember one time I wanted to go roller skating, and you know, I asked her if I would go, and so one of the shitty things that she would do to me is she would always withhold consent for me to go out with my friends or whatever, which was very rarely given anyway, because, you know, I might go out and fuck some boy, you know, if she let me go out, you know, and do anything with my friends. So she would always withhold consent for any sort of activity until the very last minute, you know. Well, this sucked because I couldn't get dressed. I couldn't get ready or anything. So I remember one time I asked her if I could go roller skating, and she was like, I'll think about it. Okay, fucking great. So I went downstairs, you know, I got myself ready and just put on a different shirt where if I was going to go, you know, at least I was dressed. I came upstairs and she's like, what are you wearing? You're not going. No, I haven't given you permission yet. Don't be assuming I'm going to give you permission. No, so for that, you don't get to go. And I remember I just burst into tears because I was like, I can't fucking win with you. And I just went downstairs to my room. And even the dude she was with at the time, because at that time she had divorced my dad and was with her next husband. And I was with her because she adopted me. Okay, in there, which I'll get to in a minute. But this was even he was looking at her and he's like, what the fuck? Like, tell her if she can go or not. Like, she's just trying to get ready. Like, what are you doing? And so, like, she kind of backtracked from it and she was like, well, I'll give in, but you need to make sure you're not assuming, you know. And, like, I'm like, God. You know, I could never fucking win with her. So, yeah. She was just really had to being abusive. There was a lot of parentification. I was taking care of my brothers all the time. I was doing housework around the house. I was the built-in babysitter all the time. And I'm not saying that kids shouldn't help out with their younger siblings and help around the house. The amount that I was expected to do was totally inappropriate, totally age inappropriate, totally inappropriate for a kid at all. Eventually, she adopted me. I'm still salty about this. For those of you who don't know, when a step-parent adopts a kid, the birth certificate is altered. The biological mother's name is erased. The step-parent's name is put on there, okay? If you're a dad and you're adopting your girl's kid, the father gets erased, and the kid now gets the stepdad turned adoptive dad's name, okay? It's just like a regular adoption. For some reason, people don't realize this. They don't think that it works like that, but it does. And that's the thing. The tie to the parent is gone forever. And people have, their spouse adopt because they think they're going to be a big, happy family. Okay, what happened to me is not an unusual situation at all. That's really great, if you're going to move on and be happily ever after. What happens if you divorce? Oh, do you think you're going to get custody of your kid just because they're the adoptive parent? Oh, hell no. They're the regular parent now. So, guess what? My adoptive stepmonster got fucking custody of me when my dad divorced, and she didn't even like me, okay? I was just a possession of hers. My dad went to treatment, and I didn't want to leave her either because I was afraid that if I left, she was going to start in on my little brothers. So I was caught in this total shit position here. And like any kid with that lineup going there, of course, I started seeking affection in guys, okay? Because that's what girls with that kind of history do. And some of it was inappropriate, age inappropriate, and some of it wasn't, I lost my virginity very, very young. It was on my 14th birthday in kind of a date rapey situation. Basically, things went a lot farther than I was comfortable with, but I was there, and it was scary, and it hurt, and I was freaked out, and I didn't know how I felt, and it was just a shit show. And months later, I lost my actual virginity because it was like fully consensual the first time with somebody who I cared about a lot and who I was close friends with until he died a few years ago of freak medical accident. I ended up getting pregnant because that's what happens to girls who lose their virginity very young. I didn't get pregnant on purpose to get out of my stepmonster's house, but it was sure a nice side effect. And I have to admit, my first thought was, oh good, finally I'll be able to leave. It really was a thought. I really thought finally, because my dad had been there, right, that he was going to rescue me and he was going to help me. He did. And he scheduled an abortion for me, and he told me the night before at 7 p.m. when we had to leave less than 12 hours later to go and get it done. So I had no time to find a way out of it. I wanted out of it. I need to interject here. I'm an extremely pro-life, pro-choice person, okay? I'm not even one of those who says, like, I don't like abortion, but you do you. No, I think abortion's a great fucking idea, and in fact, I think it should be used more often. But in that particular instance, it wasn't my choice. Maybe if I'd had some time and been talked to rationally and stuff, I would have come to that conclusion on my own. Maybe not. But I tell you this, I sure the fuck didn't. And going in there, it was a joke. Like, I'm sitting there sobbing hysterically, and they're like, oh, are you doing this for your own free will? I'm like, yes. And, like, I get it done. And honestly, looking back, I feel it was for the best. But in the moment, I sure the fuck didn't. Okay? Years later, like, my dad apologized to me. He was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm sorry about that. And I thought he was apologizing for overruling my consent. No. He was apologizing to me because he went super Republican and decided that, like, fucking abortion is the root of all evil now. I'm like, oh, yeah, now it's not. Like, get the fuck out of here. You're just like every other fucking Republican. Abortion is good for you when it's convenient for you. Like, don't even fuck with me on this, okay? Like, yeah, like, it's very convenient now he's had a change of heart. Please. He was listening to Rush Limbaugh then, too. He knew damn well it was, like, against the GOP bylaws. Like, it was just convenient for him. Whatever. So, that happened, and that really messed me up. So, I'm living with my dad. My teenage years were basically just a lot of, from the time I was, like, 15 until I was, like, 20, 21, was just basically nothing but drama, chasing boys, trying to, like, turn myself into a family, you know, all kinds of, like, emo, psychological, hypothetical situationing and, like, teenaging and, like, dramatizing everything. Like, I was a fucking mess. And it was just not... I'm so embarrassed by how I behaved in high school. I mean, I was a kind person. I was a compassionate person. And, you know, I tried to be a decent human being, but, like, I was just obsessive and drama-laden and embarrassing. And to this day, I'm so embarrassed about the way I behaved. So if you're one of those people who remembers me being, like, a drama queen hot mess in high school, believe me, I remember it too, and I am so embarrassed. Okay. Alright, so I go to high school, and I get out of high school, and, I mean, I was a smart kid. I was, like, really bright. You know, I was in all the advanced classes and gifted programs and all that shit. And then by the time we got to, like, past geometry, as far as math goes, I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't fucking think in school. I mean, it was so difficult. Like, history and English, like, I would just, like, look at the book and, like, pass it. But math, oh, that was miserable. Science, too, because, you know, then you had to actually think and sit and study. Years later, I found out that I actually had a pretty obvious case of undiagnosed ADHD. But, you know, back then in the early 90s, ADD was a 12-year-old boy who couldn't sit down and shut the fuck up. I didn't present that way. I was a daydreamer who couldn't fucking pay attention to anything, you know, and keep my mind on track. So my father also didn't really have a lot of skills. He wasn't super present for my teenage years. He was dealing with his own newfound sobriety. And, you know, he really wasn't, like, paying attention to me the way that he should have been. He wasn't, like, on it and stuff. So I didn't have, like, guidance. Like, hey, Wendy, we need to be thinking about getting you into college, choosing a major and things like that. So my math grades and science grades were crap. So I didn't really think I'd go to college. I didn't think there was any money for us anyway. Like, we were living in a cheap apartment on the good side of town. And, you know, my dad always had money problems, and he was just starting to dig himself out. So I didn't really think that, like, real college was an option for me. So I decided that I was going to learn how to do hair and makeup for people who, like, had physical disabilities and stuff, and help them with that. And my dad was roughly about as supportive as you might think a guy might be watching his brilliant daughter choose such a option. He wasn't, like, telling me, like, no, you can't do that. He was just like, okay, whatever. And I get why he was like that, but some guidance would have been nice. But whatever. So I signed up for that. Started in the fall. A friend of mine from my high school class, her name was Laura. She died of being murdered, brutally raped and murdered. And I wasn't extremely close with her or anything, but just the fact that somebody my age who was in, like, my friend group, generally speaking, was brutally raped and murdered, it completely threw me off. And it already exacerbated my sense of I'm never safe anywhere feelings. And I just fucked everything off. I dropped out of school. All I wanted to do was hang out with my friends 24/7. I had, like, a job, like, doing telephone surveys. and I ended up getting in a relationship with and marrying a guy who was a few years older than me, and I was all of 19 years old. He wasn't really well suited for me, and I wasn't really well suited for him. He had extreme jealousy issues that were completely unwarranted. But as often happens when somebody is extremely jealous and accuses somebody of something all the time, eventually you start deciding to prove them right. I never cheated on him, but I thought about it quite a lot. And eventually he got wind of that because I'm a writer, and so he found my writings and read them in a letter that I had actually sent to somebody, and he decided to open it and read for himself what a private letter that I was sending to somebody else that was already in an envelope, stamp on it and everything, and blew up at me, and we got in a huge fight, and I left. Thank God. I ended up talking after that. I was living on my own in an apartment, taking some classes at the community college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life still. And I started talking to a guy on the internet about insomnia and stuff. We met in a Smashing Pumpkins fan group. And this was a guy who was in Montreal. And he was really cool, and I've always been an adventurous sort. We ended up meeting in person and finding out that we were super compatible and really liked each other genuinely. There was nothing but a lot of love there. This was a great guy. He was just graduated with a science degree. He was going into grad school, and he was smart and intelligent, and he came from, a normal, good family. And so I got pregnant on purpose because I wanted to make sure that I got that guy. Yeah, because I didn't want him to leave me because I needed a family, right? So I got pregnant on purpose with this perfectly nice man who didn't deserve to get trapped like that. Probably the shittiest thing I've ever done in my life to any human. He's a really, really good man. A really good man. He didn't throw me away. Because I told him the truth, because I suck at lying. I'm a really shitty liar. I mean, a really shitty liar. I can't stand lying to people. I can't stand keeping secrets. It just sucks. I suck at this. So I told him. And I said, listen, I'll get an abortion if you want to. This isn't right. I can't do this to you. And he said no. He sat and he thought about it. He took like a week or two, something like that. I don't even think it was that long. Maybe it was like 3 days. And he was like, no. He's like, just no. And not only did he say no, he did a full no. He wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna, forgive you for it. He wasn't like, okay, you can have the baby and I'm gonna be there, but I'm gonna make you pay for it with blood for the rest of your life. He wasn't like that. No. He straight up said, that was shitty. Don't do that again. And then it was over. He took me home to Canada with him. And we got married. And we had this beautiful little boy. He was such a beautiful baby. And I was so happy because I was a mom and I had this wonderful, beautiful baby boy. And I had this great husband who was a decent man. And I lived in this beautiful city. And, I was with cool people who were friendly and French speaking. And I was in this awesome country full of decent people. And I had universal health care. Don't underestimate how awesome that is. And everything was great. And I wanted another baby, obviously, And we had another baby. And she was this beautiful little girl. And she was perfect in every way. And, this was like a perfect birth. Because, it wasn't like the best birth experience the first time. But, shit happens. I wasn't like devastated and traumatized for life over it. Like, it was fine. I'm not blaming people who are. I'm just saying that was my experience. Okay, that's all. And I didn't get to breastfeed my first baby. We tried, it just didn't work, and I really wanted to, and I'm sad about it, but I got over that too. And then when my little girl was born, she was a fantastic nurser. It was the best birth ever. Everything was fucking great. It was just so perfect and wonderful. And except for that, I wasn't into this guy anymore. What the fuck was wrong with me? I don't know. I still don't know. He was a good-looking, decent, wonderful guy. He wasn't abusive or shitty to me in any way. He took care of me. He loved me. He was wonderful father. There was literally nothing wrong with him. And I just tossed it. I just tossed it. We realized that our little boy, our first child, was autistic. And I don't mean cute little Asperger-y, a little bit obsessive, likes to play with trains autistic. I mean, he refused to speak more than some echolalia words here and there. I mean, he barely communicated with us. I mean, we couldn't leave a single cupboard unlocked because he would get into everything and make messes, get into chemicals. He would eat rocks, and chip his teeth on them and stuff, and we couldn't take care of him. Slowly he started staying more and more with the respite workers. By the time he was 12, he was in a group home full time pretty much, except on the weekends. Prior to that, though, we had divorced. I divorced this wonderful, perfect man. And I went to university, finding myself. And I got in relationships with a bunch of crappy guys, just one after another. Whenever I did find a good guy, I would invariably find some reason where I just was like, yeah, no. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me. I still don't. I went after all the wrong guys. Guys with addiction issues, married guys. I started dating guys for no reason other than that they could take care of me. And I want to be very clear, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever with sex workers or sex work in general. You do you. Stay safe, sane, and consensual. Okay? But for me, I think I might have been acting out issues. I think to pretend otherwise is a little bit disingenuous. Yeah. So, there was a point when my first child was 11 years old, and I had him out with me, and we went to McDonald's. He loved McDonald's French fries. And we were at McDonald's, and I was ordering French fries, and he was really hungry. And he jumped over the counter and went and grabbed himself a box of French fries from, the warming rack under the lights where they keep it. And I was mortified, and the McDonald's was cool. They were like, no, we understand. They could tell that he, had some difficulties. But what hit me was that I couldn't keep my baby safe. That was nothing. He just jumped over a counter. What if he ran out in traffic? What if he climbed up a transformer or a telephone pole? What if he jumped off of a bridge or a tree or something? What if he jumped into the gorilla enclosure at the fucking zoo? And I lost it. That I couldn't keep my baby safe. I mean, I'm a mother. It's my one fucking job, right? And I couldn't take him out ever again. After that, I only ever saw him with his father. I would go to his dad's house when he was there, and I would be with him there because I was so scared that I couldn't keep him safe. Like, what a shitty mother I am, and I can't decide if I'm a shitty mother because I couldn't keep him safe or because I never, like, went and got therapy to teach myself to feel confident keeping him safe. Like, just fucked it all up. Okay. So, eventually, I found my way to my third husband. And I thought that I'd finally done everything right this time. He was smart and kind and competent, and he adored me, and we worked together really well, and he was going to be a lawyer. He was in law school, and he was a good guy. He had a really good sense of social justice, and he was always the guy that everybody went to solve their problems, and he was like the bureaucratic Mike Holmes, you know. He would make it right, you know, and he was always there for everybody, and he had a good sense of right and wrong and a head on his shoulders, and he was strong, and I was so in love with him. And I finally thought that I had gotten it right. I was so proud of myself. You know, that he was going to be a great stepdad to my kids. My kids loved him. He used to say that he wanted to date a single mom because he wanted to see how she was going to treat his kids. You know, and I was like, oh, this is a guy who's like, you know, put some thought into parenting. Cool. So we got together and we dated a long time, and we knew that this is what we wanted. And it's really hard to tell this part of the story because I don't like telling his story, because this is for him to tell, but I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said in public before and that he's already gotten mad at me about. So fuck it, like, I can't really omit this part of the story. He cheated on me, and this is just, I'm just gonna give you the very short version. You know, you can extrapolate it and just know that I'm giving the extremely Cliff's Notes bare minimum version here. He cheated on me always. Just always. Always and constantly. And I could have put up with that. I could have wrapped my head around that. I could have even wrapped my head around an open marriage. What I couldn't wrap my head around was that it would go like this. Okay. Hey, babe. Where you at? You said you'd be home at 7. It's like 9 o'clock now. Oh, I met it. Some people were just talking some business. I'll be home at 10. Okay. 10 o'clock comes. Okay. Ring, ring. Ring, ring. No answer. Babe, you there? Babe? Ring, ring. Ring, ring. 11:30, he picks up. Yeah, hi. I'm sorry. I lost track of time. I'm getting in the last metro. Okay. 1 a.m. Goes straight to voicemail. At this point, I'm petrified that he's in a ditch somewhere. No. 4 in the morning, 5, 6, sometimes 7, he'd finally come walking in the door. And for a long time, I tried to tell myself that, like, I was really mad about the cheating. I just used the leaving me to think you were dead in a ditch as a reason to, like, be extra mad at him. No. Recently, we had a situation where I was trying to get a hold of him because I wanted to talk to the kids. We had made arrangements to talk at 7 o'clock, and he wasn't purposefully blowing me off. It's just that he got caught up in some work stuff, and he wasn't able to answer his phone right away. But, of course, my mind went straight to, oh, this motherfucker's out on a terrace. You know what he's doing right now. He's sitting there drinking. He's ditching me because it's more important than he's drinking and talking to his bitches and not being there for me just the same. I mean, I was back in that mode instantly. And I was just mad because he wasn't picking up the phone because I couldn't talk to the kids. It had nothing to do with us being in the relationship or whatever. It was the disrespect, the ghosting, and the gaslighting. He would tell me, and of course I would get nervous and completely freaked out about this. I would message him all the time. I'd be like, listen, where are you? And he'd be like, stop stalking me. I'm not stalking you, motherfucker. I'm your wife. Get the fuck out of here. And it didn't help that he had, like, all these 22-year-old social justice warrior bimbettes around him, like, thinking that he was so brilliant and their nutty professor and shit. Being like, oh, like, that's really, like, controlling behavior that your wife calls you all the time. Yeah, you goddamn right I call him all the fucking time because he's out in a fucking whorehouse all the time. And then when he comes home, he's like, oh, well, like, look for me. Try to help me. Like, try to protect me from myself. Call me. Make sure that, like, I eat before I go drinking and shit. So then when I do it, then he makes me out to be the crazy controlling bitch. Man, fuck you. So it turned into a nasty situation. All right? I was really depressed and miserable, to put it mildly. On top of it, I was also still grieving the death of my brother. My most close in age brother, who was only 6 years older than me, he got killed in an intentional car wreck when he was 16 and I was 21, right after my first son was born. Basically, they were sort of doing, like, dangerous driving. He was driving. It was, like, his first night out after his 16th birthday. He was driving the car down the road, and these other guys, thought they were show-offs and being fucking cool and stuff. They had a car from a dealer that they weren't even supposed to have, and they ran my 16-year-old brother and his 15-year-old best friend off the fucking road. They ran into an Iowa oak tree going 90 miles an hour in a Geo Metro. My brother died on the operating table. My dad used to say that it broke his heart thinking of how hard my brother fought to live because my brother was in surgery for a long time. And, they kept trying to, like, pump him full of blood, and they worked on him. And I said, Daddy, he didn't fight to live, he fought to die. He didn't want my parents to have to make the decision to pull the plug. And when I thought of him looking down and saying, my parents aren't doing that, I'm out of here, that gave me some peace. Because he was the type that he would have been like that. I wonder what he would have been like. I wonder if we would have been close. I wonder if we both would have been messes, and if we could have talked, bonded. I don't know. Maybe it just would have been a mess. Maybe it would have been good. Maybe he would have been okay. I don't know. It was awful. In there also, the father of my first two children, my son and my daughter, his mother died of some stomach cancer. I loved that woman. She opened her heart to me when I came to Canada, and she took such good care of me. She treated me like her own daughter. She was the best mother-in-law anybody could ever have. She was just so bright and cheerful, and she'd been through some shit in her life, and she didn't let it get her down. You know, she was so welcoming and inviting, and she was just beautiful and fun and cheerful, and she had such a vibrant personality, and she loved my kids. She utterly adored them, you know, and even though she knew her son and I were divorcing, she was like, I love you. You gave me grandkids. It was wonderful. And I missed her so much. But that's what it was. So, when I was with my third husband, I felt bad, but I held his mom at a distance. I'd already lost my mom. I'd already lost my mother-in-law. I was like, can we just be friends? You know? And she was hurt by that, which really sucks because, on my part, because she was such a wonderful lady. Like, she's so kind and generous and just the most decent person ever. And she was really good to me. So now I'm married to this guy who's cheating on me with anything that moves and is staying out all night. And, you know, anytime I try to call him or get a hold of him, he's ghosting me and he's gaslighting me and he's making it sound like I'm so fucking unreasonable about this. And I lose my mind. It comes out as anger. My anger boils and boils and boils. And finally, after 10 years, we ended up calling it quits. There were a couple of nasty physical fights that we got into. He didn't hurt me, I'll tell you that. And he left, and I was mind blown because his family rallied around him. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I couldn't fathom this. And I've told my sons this. I've told my daughter too. You know, you cheat on your spouse, you may be my kid, but you cheat on your spouse and you make them fucking crazy and you split up. I'm not helping you. I will love you, but I will help them set up their life, not you. You're the asshole here. Like, no. Get the fuck out of here. But no. I was looked at as the pariah who was just completely unreasonable. My part in this was that I had difficulty putting together a career. Part of this was due to my ADHD issues, which weren't diagnosed. Part of this was just due to all the trauma untreated that I had and not just being able to get it together. And, you know, part of it was just bad learned behaviors. I had these two little kids, and I thought that he wanted me to stay home with them. And then I had this nasty habit where he would go out and party all night, and I'd be like, oh, really? Well, fuck you. And I would, like, take his credit cards and spend all kinds of money on his credit cards because I knew that would piss him off. Because it was the only thing that I felt could actually get at him. It was the only way that I felt that I could wound him. I regret doing that now. It wasn't very mature of me. We split up. And it didn't just break my heart. It broke my brain. Because I really, truly thought that he would never leave. I thought that we would just keep fighting and fighting and that eventually he would stop being a douchebag cheater. The fact that he chose to leave instead of keep his family together, it was worse than if he died. Not worse for our sons, obviously. But it's terrible. I was destroyed that somebody would actually rather leave me than stop cheating on me. It was bad. I went into a massive depression. We decided it was ending in January. He left on St. Patrick's Day after the last of our physical fights. Where again, it was me doing the hitting, not him. He left on St. Patrick's Day. I don't remember anything until May. I look back on my Facebook posts from that time. I literally do not remember them. I have No memory. It's just completely wiped. I was destroyed. In June, I went to a party. And, Montreal's always been a very decadent town, so to speak. Drug use is very casual there. It's not uncommon to see coke and pot at parties, along with all the booze you could ever want. And I was not a stranger to using coke. I wasn't a stranger to drinking excessively. And someone had heroin there. And I had always said I would never do heroin because I always heard how it was impossible to get off of. And I'm not into physical pain, and I'd heard withdrawal was bad and stuff. So that was just always like, I was like, no, I'm not going to do heroin. No. And then there it was in front of me. And somebody said, do you want to do a line of heroin? And in that state, I said, that sounds like a great idea. Why not? And that's the end of part one. Part two is coming up next.